Hey everybody, General Motors Jeff here from Pro Chevrolet in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. And today what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over the differences between this, the 2021 and the 2020 GMC Yukon Denalis. Let's go have a look at what makes this new 2021 that much different than the outgoing model. All right, so some of you may know, and if you didn't, GMC has changed totally the 2021 Yukon over its predecessor, the 2019 model. Now, this is the 5th generation of GMC Yukon that we've seen. And today what we're gonna do is go over some of the differences. And right off the bat, I think we can clearly tell that there is a cosmetic difference, right? I mean, check out those C-shaped lights in the front there. Actually, those C's there will turn into the daytime driving lights, which is pretty cool. And over here you see that is a different type of light that kind of goes back on here, all right? We also have a difference in the grille. Of course, it still is unique to Denali with that chrome grille, but this is a much more involved grille here. Many more pieces on this to make it stand out, but still have that Denali characteristic. Now, another big difference, big difference or not, you'll see vertical versus horizontal in terms of the fog lights down below, all right? Another big thing though, when we are talking about headlights, is right here. The actual headlight itself, that's LED now, so you're gonna get that brighter headlight, especially for some of us up here who live outside the city. It's nice to have that brighter headlight, and on this one we have our HID headlights, okay? So that is another big difference. Let's head over to the back. We're still gonna talk cosmetics, all right? We'll look at the 2020 here. See, there's the vertical tail lights there. And look at this different style here. How it wraps around here. See, it doesn't do that on that one. So that is, again, another difference. The other thing too is the exhaust. So this is a Denali. Not much the way you see in the exhaust. Check this out. Signature for the Denali now is those right there. Dual exhaust with the twin tips polished on either side. Pretty cool looking, if I do say so myself. Now, how about the dimensions of these? Let's talk about that next. The overall length of this 2021 has now changed. It is now, overall, 6.7 inches longer. And the wheelbase right here, that is now 4.9 inches longer. Not to mention, as you can probably tell, it does sit up a bit higher as well, actually to the tune of 1.5 inches, inch and a half, all right? Let's be honest. And the width is marginally different, but they're pretty close in terms of the width. So again, it is longer wheelbase, longer overall, and of course that is gonna transition over to a much more comfortable ride. Speaking of the ride, let's talk about one more thing. That happens to be back here underneath. Multi-link independent rear suspension we're using now. That is a different suspension from the outgoing model. So multi-link independent rear suspension is going to give you a better ride, but also transitions over to some things happening in the cabin, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Now, part of that multi-link suspension is when you get to the Denali, you're going to get the magnetic ride suspension. Don't have enough time to go over all that today. Maybe I'll do another video on it, but you can certainly Google magnetic ride suspension and just see how involved that suspension is. Not to mention though, they do have the option this year for having an air ride with that magnetic suspension as well, which is actually gonna raise and lower that suspension. And there's a whole host of other things that go along with that as well. As far as the motors, we're still sticking to that. This one right now has that 6.2 liter with the 10-speed in it. The difference though, between these two, both of these are equipped, by the way, with the 6.2 liter that we're looking at right now. But this one right here has what we call the dynamic fuel management, same thing that the GMC Sierras have, whereas that's using the active fuel management. What is the difference? Active fuel management, which is on that one, will drop the cylinders from 8 to 4. Obviously great, right? It'll help in the fuel efficiency. However, more modern over here, what we've got now is the ability to run on any number of cylinders with the dynamic fuel management. So it can run on 7, 6, 5, however many cylinders it needs to get the job done. Needless to say, it's just a little bit upgraded, but the horsepower and the torque basically still remain the same. One other differences between these as well is the differential. Sorry, I had to pause there for a second trying to remember what it was that was different. We had a G80 locking differential in this one. Now we have the G86 or G96 automatic, or sorry, pardon me, mechanical or electrical limited slip differential. All right, so that is a bit different again as well. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna head inside, probably start from the back and work our way forward and tell you what else is new in this vehicle. All right, so let's head in the back. I'm gonna show you a few things here. We're gonna talk first and foremost about cargo space. As I just mentioned to you earlier, of course, we have a 6.7-inch longer vehicle than we did in the 2020 version. Now, what is different when we head inside this now is you're gonna have obviously more cubic space of storage. Actually, to the tune of, if you start from the first row back, you're talking 28.2 cubic feet more. Second row back, 20.9 cubic feet, and even behind the third row, 10.2 cubic foot more of storage than we had in the previous one. That's attributed to the two things, of course, the longer vehicle, and also with the ability to drop that floor a little bit because of the independent rear suspension. We're able to get some room that way as well. Of course, we're still going to retain the power drop down seats, all right, that we had in the outgoing model. One of the differences though is this, that second row. Cool part about the second row now is you can actually adjust it forward and back to the tune, I think it is about 5.5 inches. We didn't really have that maneuverability before. We just had the ability to get it out of the way, of course, which we can do from the button back there. Speaking of that, there actually is a button now as well. I don't know if you can see from here, but up on there, where you can now power down the seats here from the front as well. So if you have somebody coming in the back and the driver's up there, they can just hit that seat and bring it down, all right? Now, speaking of seats, all right, and you know, passengers and things like that. Another thing with the 6.7 inches longer, and of course the drop down of the little bit drop down of the floor due to the suspension, we're now able to achieve, of course, more legroom, and I'm talking a lot more legroom as a matter of fact. In fact, 40% more legroom in that third row. All right, so 40% more legroom in that third row. And we're talking 10.1 inches more legroom in that back row, and part of it is also just the sitting position because you're able to sit more comfortably with a little more, you know, your legs down, you know, your knees in a more comfortable position than it was in the past. And even in the second row, we have 3 inches more legroom in the second row as well, which is pretty awesome. Now, if we're gonna keep talking about back here while we're back here, talk about a couple other things. Now we have a pano sunroof. Did not have a pano sunroof in the previous version. We just had a sunroof out front. So a big, massive pano sunroof in this one, which I love. Not to mention, not only that, but we also have, what else do we have back here that's different? Of course, obviously you have all your controls here, but what I wanted to talk about that's different was right here. Right there, we are gonna have, unfortunately this one doesn't have it, I wish I could have shown it to you today, but a 12.2 inch screen on either side when you get the DVD, or pardon me, not the DVD, but you get the rear entertainment setup, all right? You're able to do it wirelessly, you can integrate both, and the cool part is, this here, especially if you have kids, you can control from up there. So on that touchscreen from the front, you can control what the kids are watching back here, all right? Not to mention, which is really cool too, if you have nav hooked up, you can actually have the navigation. They can be looking at the navigation through here, and they can choose like different, you know, different things that they want to look at. That's not going to affect the front. So a big improvement in the rear entertainment system. But we're done with the rear. We're heading to the front. All right, so here we are, the driver's seat, the cockpit of the beautiful Denali, all right? Now, one of the things right off the bat I think you're going to notice, and it's kind of hard to tell unless you're in person, that screen is definitely larger. The outgoing screen that we have in that one beside us over there is an 8-inch screen. We now have a 10.2 inch color touchscreen there, which has obviously all the features we had before. But one of the things it adds, which I love, so we have Apple Carplay and Android Auto, we have navigation, all that kind of stuff. As you can see, we can slide forward and back. There's a couple things added on the screen that we did not have before. Well, not to the screen, but to the system. First and foremost, see that there, Apple Carplay, wireless now. So you can actually have your phone, by the way, plugged into, or not plugged in, sitting here on the new version of the wireless charging. By the way, that is now 15 watt versus the old outgoing 5 watt, so it will charge faster. It's just a nicer place to set it than I found the armrest was. But you can also have it there charging and wirelessly connect to the Apple CarPlay, which is pretty awesome. All right. Another thing though, we have more trailering tech in this vehicle, and that's part of it right there. We have a trailering app, okay? Not to mention, we also have the surround vision camera in this, and it's an HD quality. So you're gonna notice right off the bat, if you get in from the 2020 to the 2021, the quality of the touchscreen is far superior, at least as far as I'm concerned anyways. I can definitely see and notice a difference. Now, are you noticing something else that's different? Maybe a little bit, right? How about that right there? Gone is the column shift. We have no more column shift in the Yukon anymore. Now what we have is the button. So you probably have seen this in the GMC Terrain as well as the 2020 Acadia. That is called the EPS system in those vehicles, which is electronic precision shift. However, they have changed the name of it, I think more so just because they changed the location of it, if I'm being honest with you, to the ETRS system, which stands for Electronic Transmission Range Selector, all right? And I can tell you firsthand, it's actually very intuitive, very easy to use, tons of safety features implemented. So I know I've had people concerned with, you know, if I just get out the door, I forget to press park, what's gonna happen? As soon as you open that door, clicks into park. You can't accidentally put it in reverse when you're in drive if you're over, I think it is like something like 6 kilometers an hour. I mean, there's a whole host of things that make it, for lack of better terminology, idiot proof, okay? So that system is really cool, but again, gone is the column shifter. That adds, part of the reason for that, of course, is just the help with the layout of everything, but not to mention, it helps because we now no longer have, you know, it's more of the engine compartment's covered up because it's an electronic shift, so we don't have as much of the engine compartment exposed, which is gonna create, obviously, quieter cabin noise. Now, another thing you're gonna notice is some relocations of the buttons, all right? So some of the stuff that was over here is over there and vice versa. That's something that we can go over in another video, but of course there is some differences in regards to that. Now, one of the other things that is different is the heads-up display. So you could get heads-up display, of course, in the previous version, okay? However, in this one here, I don't think it's gonna show us, it doesn't show up very well in the dark, but it is now a 15-inch color, so just larger, basically, heads-up display than we had in the other version, which I love. It's just, it's a great feature to have. If you ever use it, it works very, very, very well. All right, I think that's pretty much a lot of it. Of course, we have added some actually additional safety features in it than we didn't have before. One of them would be this right here. The rear view camera mirror. Now, you've seen this in some of our other vehicles, but now this is new as opposed to that 2020 over there. We now have it in the 2021, is the HD rear view camera mirror. It actually has a washer out back, so believe it or not, it'll actually wash that camera off for you. So it's very rare where you're ever gonna see that to be blocked. But if it was, or if you don't like that rear view camera, all you have to do is hit that switch and it goes right back to normal, okay? So, check my list here because there's so much to go over. I just wanna make sure 14-point, I forgot about that. The 14-point Bose speaker system, center point, pardon me, 14 speaker center point sound system. I forgot about that, which is awesome. We now have adaptive cruise control in this vehicle as well. We did not have that in the outgoing versions, and also an enhanced auto emergency braking. Not to mention, the safety alert seat is actually, you know, standard in more models than it was before as well, all right? So anyways, again, I just wanted to go over some of the massive new awesome changes that you're gonna get when you get into this beautiful 2021 GMC Yukon Denali. Now, we do have different versions and they're gonna be carrying different options and different things are gonna differentiate them. But as far as today, in today's video, that is the difference between the 2020 and the 2021 GMC Yukon Denalis. If you have any questions, as always, message me, call me, email me. I'd love to help you out. Cheers, everyone.